Hello everyone, Gluten Snake here, and this is my new YouTube series. We are making this amazing series. We're going to call it Why Should I Care About That? And that can be a game, that can be a book, that can be a movie. The whole point is there's a lot of incredibly cool games, for example, because this is going to be the first episode, and it's going to be about games. A lot of cool games. We've had games for half a century, more than half a century at this point. You're not going to be able to play all of them. And unfortunately, you're just going to spend 5,000 hours playing League of Legends or whatever, instead of playing all of these games. So I'm here to make your life easier. I'm going to give you a 4-slide summary of Diablo. This is the first game of our series. I'm making this specifically because Path of Exile 2 is coming out, and everybody's abuzz about how all modern ARPGs are amazing and how Diablo 4 sucks. And I think it's very important to look at Diablo because that's like the birth of a new genre. The father of modern ARPGs is Diablo. So, first and foremost, what is it? It's a game by Blizzard Entertainment. Blizzard Entertainment, massive gaming company, known for StarCraft, Warcraft, and World of Warcraft, of course, Overwatch, a lot of like very, very famous game series, and also the Diablo game series. So, it released in 1997, so it's, at the time when internet was getting very widespread across the world, and that's going to become important later. And it's the first of 4 games, so it's a 4-game series. There's a spin-off, Diablo Immortal, or whatever it's called, that was quite a buzz actually a couple of years ago when people were making, is this a late April Fool's joke? Or stuff like that. Anyhow, there's 4 games in the series. All of them have one expansion. For Diablo, it's Hellfire. Anyhow, the second question is, why should I care about Diablo? Like, there's a billion games, a billion famous games. Why should I care about Diablo? So, Diablo is not the first ARPG by any definition. ARPGs had existed for years before Diablo, but Diablo did 2 unique things. Okay? So first and foremost, it's its perspective and way that you played it. It was both a point-and-click game, so you would click on the screen in order for you to get to the next stage, and it was also isometric, so you would see it in like a weird, angly thing, and it looked very cool. It looked like a fake 3D type effect. It was kind of 3D, to be honest. The second very important thing was online, so you could play with your friends. You could do dungeons with your friends, right? And in addition to all that, it was a fantastic game. Blizzard, especially early Blizzard, is well known for their amazing games. And now what happens is that suddenly Diablo releases and a lot of game companies copy it. Because once you have like a concept that works, you copy it, right? And so for years, ARPGs weren't called ARPGs, they were called Diablo clones. So you would have stuff like Titan Quest or Torchlight or even Path of Exile, right? They were all Diablo clones, they're Diablo-like games. Now we call them ARPGs because there's been a lot of differentiation in the genre. Arguably, Path of Exile has become the biggest name in the genre, and Path of Exile 2 is releasing in days, as we discussed before. So yeah, this is why you should care. It is arguably the most important game of the genre. It is the thing that inspired almost everything that came after it in terms of good games. It was also very unique in its perspective, both in being online and also the way that it played. Anyhow, what is the premise of the plot? So the events happen in a town called Tristan. The basic plot is there's a cathedral. You descend from the cathedral to the bottom levels, to the dungeons, blah, 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 all the way to hell. And you kill a bunch of people. You kill the king. You kill bishop or cardinal or whatever he is, like a religious person, and eventually you kill the Diablo. Diablo is one of the great evils, or whatever they're called. So yeah, that's why, very simple plot, not very much that's like meaty, like, oh, you really, really need to know this. You just descend down the cathedral and you go and kill Diablo, which is the main villain. Now, what's important for you to remember, okay, other than, this is Diablo, it's done by Blizzard, whatever. So the first thing I think is very important to remember is Deckard Cain. Deckard Cain is one of the most recognizable characters from the entire Blizzard universe. He's this old guy, he has a big beard, and he is like the guy who knows all the lore. He's the person you ask and you're like, give me some information. What's up with this cathedral? What's up with Tristan? Who's this Diablo guy, right? He's very famous for 2 things. So first, he will identify items for you in Diablo, and in most ARPGs, there's monsters, and the monsters drop items with randomized stats, but you don't know what those stats are until somebody identifies those stats for you, and that person is Deck Arcane, or you would use a scroll of identification. Anyhow, Deck Arcane will identify stuff for you, and that's a cool thing he does. He tells you all the lore, that's a cool thing he does, and the final cool thing is he has this catchphrase called "Stay a while and listen." Stay a while and listen! He's asking you to listen to the lore, but that's a very recognizable thing that he says. Anyhow, the second very cool thing that's worth really remembering is the Butcher. So, the Butcher is one of the many, like, mini bosses, or bosses, however you want to call them, in the Diablo series. And the Butcher is very notorious for, he's in a room, and he comes out of that room, and he wants to kill you, and he screams, "Oh, fresh meat!" And that fresh meat is just like a very memorable moment. So the Butcher and Deck Arcane are probably two of the most memorable characters from Diablo 1. Third thing is, of course, is the first of 4 games, plus a mobile game. The most famous and arguably the most important game in the whole franchise is Diablo 2. That was the cornerstone of the franchise, and it's a bigger, more expansive game, but Diablo is like where it all starts. So that's why we're talking about it today. Diablo 2 also has a lot more lore. There's like Mephisto and Baal, which are like Diablo's brothers, and there's like the lesser evils, Andariel, Duriel, whatever they're called. Anyhow, all of these are important characters in those games. There's but yeah, just remember, it's the first of 4 games, and the series still goes strong to this day. Diablo 4 might not be as critically acclaimed as Diablo 1 or 2, but it still was a huge success, sold a lot of copies, made a lot of people happy, right? So another very cool thing to think about is, I don't know if it's the first game that ever did it, but the way that Diablo difficulty works is that instead of it being like most games where you start a new game and you go normal, nightmare, hell, with like easy, medium, hard, you have to beat the whole game and level up a character, and then you go through nightmare, and then you go through hell. It's the same game. The characters are a bit tougher, but it is essentially the same game. And that's been the case for a lot of franchises. Path of Exile, before they had their major update, would have you play the game 3 times. Diablo 2 would have you play the game 3 times with the same normal nightmare, hell difficulty thing. So yeah, very common thing in the RPGs. And I think that's it. So thank you so much. That's all you need to remember from Diablo. Don't waste 10 hours, 15 hours playing it. I've told you everything you need to know. Alright, have a good day, folks.